r/AskReddit. What instantly turns a person from likable to disgusting to you? If they talk shit about someone who did nothing wrong just to look better. How do you tolerate most of Reddit then? Yes, see, I never left middle school. I hate when people talk shit about others in front of me. I feel immediate and deep shame when I catch myself doing the same. Inability to admit fault. I think this one is what led me to being more empathetic. The day I recognized that I could never take responsibility for my own actions when I did something wrong was the day I started really thinking about how other people felt. It's not like I never did that before, but whenever there was an argument or I hurt someone, I automatically assumed I was in the right. Instead, I started putting myself in their shoes and wondering how I would feel. I might not always be able to understand all of their emotions, but I do get a better understanding of the situation, and that allows me to either apologize and fix my mistake or double down because they really are in the wrong. I remember learning how to do this in my teens. It was like, fuck man. You know you're wrong, they know you're wrong. Just fucking admit it and move the fuck on. And I did. It was totally freeing. Being unable to admit their own faults or shortcomings, and blaming others for their mistakes repeatedly. I upvoted and realized I'm very often this or told I am this person. Gotta be careful with this one, though. No one likes to be wrong, and if I feel like I'm being attacked from the beginning, I know that I'll start falling into these behaviors. Using the Socratic method of argument has worked pretty well for me. Being an asshole to someone who is working. Yep, there was this girl who works at a liquor store and thought she was lovely and we would have nice back and forths when I go there. Then once she came into the McDonald's next door, there was a whole line of people that she went ahead of after ordering and was like berating them to give her coffee. Yeah, I know, right then and there. Growing up, I was taught that you're never too important to be nice to someone, and that's always stuck with me. Being rude to a stranger for literally zero reason. I remember my friend was rolling her eyes and sort of mocking this one girl sitting in the break room at work, and I was confused. I didn't know why. But then I learned it was because she was a new employee. Like, why are you mad at someone for getting a job and literally just sitting down? In general, just being rude to anyone. Have some manners, people. I was extremely guilty of this back when I was a teen. What made me realize it was when one day someone asked me, "Did you change your hair?" And I said something along the lines of, "You don't have to point it out, we all have eyes," and he responded back quietly, "I really like it." It opened my eyes and made me feel like an ass because I reacted that way. In hindsight, I did it as a defense mechanism because I was preparing for my next class where I had to sit next to a girl that I knew would say something negative. Not only was I correct on that, but she said it so loud the entire classroom heard her say my hair looked like absolute SHT and just looked at me in pity. Honestly, I think I deserved that, knowing I embarrassed another kid an hour before, though. Had a boss who, while we were at an expo type of event with tons of booths and vendors who want to sell us, and other companies, their services just pull an asshole move on someone working the event. We walked in at the start of the first day and a guy gives my boss a pamphlet flyer and we take a few steps and he crumples it up into a ball and tosses it on the floor, then looks to me like, "Cool, huh?" Meanwhile, I can see that the guy who gave it to him obviously saw the whole thing. This was like the beginning of the convention, and that guy, who maybe was even an intern or lowly paid employee, just was insulted for absolutely no reason other than my boss thinking that he's cool. I'll never forget that. If you don't want to hang on to the pamphlet flyer, at the very least hold on to it until you're at a garbage can or out of sight of the person who gave it to you. It was such a meaningless bully move. Inconsiderateness. And I don't just mean mean or rude, but when you can just tell that they literally do not consider other people when making decisions. There are two kinds of people that do this. The first is ignorant, perhaps due to lack of etiquette or they were in a hurry or having a bad day. Once they realize it, though, they would be mortified as it was unintentional and will try to make reparations in the future. The second type of people genuinely don't care even if they were told. This group are the ones that deserve to be treated the way they treat others. Currently dealing with it with my coworker. The level of it just makes me say wow out loud, lol. Those kind of people exist, lol. People that litter. Yes. Like, there are animals more civilized than you, sir. My ex litters. We were doing long distance, and the first time I saw him do it I was shook. I couldn't look at him the same after that. This was also the trip I found out he doesn't tip servers. So it was probably more of a mix of things. I am surprised this is not higher. Nothing quite angers me as quickly as watching a person casually litter. Today I watched a news report on a brazen crime. Nike man physically attacks woman at random on street to steal her purse, and I had an epiphany. Of course not every person whom litters commits crimes, but I'm willing to bet that every person whom commits this type of brazen crime is a litterer. Being friendly as long as things are smooth. But, when hard times kick around, you abandon that person. Also the opposite, when things go wrong and they need somebody there friendly. Then once they have their lives together they forget all about you. Watching videos on their phone on loud volume in a public area. I work in a cafe and you'd be surprised how many people sit and blast something on their phone and look around constantly with a smirk on their face. I genuinely believe some people enjoy being that person. So like an iPad kid in some place like a library, blasting Cocomelon and coughing as loud as possible? Maybe not the last 2-3 things, but you get what I'm saying? Those are the worst when you're on a train because you just can't escape. They are like people who enter an otherwise entirely quiet train in the morning, when most people are obviously tired and on their way to work, and start talking and laughing in such an obnoxiously loud way. Or people who stand in the entrance area on the train and don't move if someone is getting on or off. Or people who get off the train and just stop walking. Can you tell that I hate taking the train to work? I work in retail and many of my fellow coworkers will sit in the break room and blast YouTube videos or have very loud conversations on the phone. The worst is when they're blasting their entire FaceTime conversation for everyone to hear. It drives me insane when people have no consideration for others in public. People who try to get attention on social media by saying something vague like, "OMG, I can't believe this happened," and their friends freak out asking what's wrong. 4 days later they finally reply something lame like, "Oh, I spilled my favorite nail polish, lol, just shut the fuck up." Or they say, "I don't want to talk about it." What? I used to do that when I was a kid. It was so fucking cringy, ugh. I tried combing my FB and deleting everything, but I'm still finding stuff. I've thought about deleting it and starting over. I've always called this vague-burking narcissism and ego. The downside is that it's difficult at first to figure out what you're dealing with. The sneakiest narcissists are damn good at looking wonderful. Excellent at image management too. Often they'll be horrid to targets for the sole purpose of getting their stable of allies to rally around them even more. OMG, they're so mean to me. How can they do that? Manipulated narc. A narcissist is a poison that is damned hard to purge from a group because they're so damn good at creating allies. They'll steal your family out from under you and laugh while they do it. I completely get what you say. These two are the worst. And I had to back the hell off from someone who is a narcissist with a huge giant ego. And my life is so freaking better right now. Being mean to animals or perceiving themselves as better than other people based on job. Oh yeah, of course I toss my trash on the floor. That's what janitors are for. It's their job. In a somewhat related tangent, a friend of mine told me about how she gauges people based on their treatment of cats. Unlike a lot of dogs, cats don't always want a ton of attention at any given time. If that person continues to try and go after the cat, even when it has made it clear it doesn't want attention, she viewed that as a red flag for someone who doesn't often consider the consent of the person they're interacting with. And the scary part is that she was right about that kind of person on more than one occasion. Guilt-tripping someone when they badmouth others behind their backs. I play D&D every Saturday, and a couple months ago I overheard someone talking shit about me. Really pissed me off and made me question if anyone there was actually my friend. Thankfully that was the last session before her 3-month vacation, and our group is so big we have 2 DMs running 2 different games, and she is the DM for the group and not in fakeness. In authenticity. I know this is a cliche, but I recently met someone who changed her entire belief system, values, and moral compass seemingly overnight when she joined a new friend group. Witnessing it was the weirdest effing thing, and something I've never encountered before, seeing her go from one person to an entirely different person in the blink of an eye. What caused or causes this type of behavior? I don't know. An extreme lack of confidence? Low self-esteem? A desire to fit in and be liked, no matter the cost? I tend to do a thing called mirroring where I copy the behaviors and, when I was younger and less aware, the opinions of the people I'm with. It's an unhealthy coping mechanism learned in childhood to keep one safe from parents or people in authority who would punish you for not being or thinking like them. I'm in my 30s now and have mostly set that behavior aside, but my husband still notices it in times of extreme stress or when around people I'm anxious over. Not saying that was this girl's issue, but it is an interesting perspective on why that sort of thing can happen. Someone judging you based off of what you have, whether it be money or materials. Someone judging you based on your style of clothes. Lastly, judging you for what you do for a living. Last one depends if it like I would look down along a human trafficker. If you make your living providing medical care to kids in war zones or jumping out of helicopters to fight wildfires, I'ma judge the fuck out of you. Making fun of other people's appearances. I can't stand it. I used to HV a friend who only ever talked about looks, rating everyone he had ever met and such, me included. I realized it's due to his own insecurity, but still, I remember feeling that someone was ugly on the inside for the first time. Or their voices' idiosyncrasies. I developed a stutter a while back and a regular customer of mine made fun of me the first time he heard it. He had always been pretty chill up until then, but that moment made abhor him so deeply. Unkindness. It takes literally nothing to be neutral, and just a little energy, and it takes less and less effort as time goes on, to be kind. I don't understand why some people will go out of their way to be nasty to others, but I do know that the moment I see someone being shitty to another person, I want less than nothing to do with them. Excusing abuse. Denying that it is abuse, or saying you're misremembering. Being mean to animals. I understand being afraid of them, but if they just enjoy hurting them, then it makes me want to beat the crap out of the person. Also, I'm pretty sure that's a sign of someone being a psychopath. People who assert their dominance. Mainly dudes, but I have been around a few women like this. Not very enjoyable experiences around those people. In high school there was this one big dude a class higher that mostly referred to me as Rat. I was much smaller than him and a freshman, and he didn't dare call anyone else that was close to his height, build it, or anything else in the tone in which he said it to me. He was just a pretentious tough guy only shitting on others when he can to feel better about himself. This is one of the most obnoxious traits. It's often a sign of insecurity, though, I think. My favorite line a friend taught me was to ask them, "I'm sorry, what's your name again?" Holy shit, can you get under these types of people's skin with that question? Not washing their hands after using the toilet. I have a coworker that doesn't wash his hands. Everyone calls him shit bum. Oh man, about 6 years ago I was at the park with a few other parents and their kids. Some of them needed the bathroom, so I walked them over to the bathroom, and when the kids came out, I was waiting out front. It was small bathroom, one side girls, one side boys, and I asked them if they washed their hands and they just said no. And sort of refused. I thought it was so gross. I told their mother and she was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like them," and didn't care. Gross, gross, gross. She moved away. Last I knew she had 7 kids. Being mean to service workers, waiters, retail workers, etc. You can judge a person's character in 3 easy ways. How they treat animals. How they treat service workers. What they do with their shopping cart when they are done with it.